There was an ESPN article this week about 13 contenders that are now sort of risen to to the top of the field to to win the championship, the NBA championship this year, 2023. And I think it's pretty obvious that it's funny actually. The top six teams in the West were all mentioned. The Lakers were actually on this list too. Sure. All right. I said they're going to make the playoffs and win a few more games to grab one of the play-in spots at least. You're saying not. All right. So we'll find out in a few months' time there too. And obviously, 5 out of 6 teams in the East were on this list, and the Miami Heat. But the New York Knicks were not on this list, even though they are 2.5 games clear of the Heat for that sixth spot and currently in the playoffs. And I guess, I don't know, what are your thoughts here? Why are the Knicks not contenders right now? Why are they not seriously considered as dark horses, just like the Kings, just like the Cavs, all right, that are currently considered as, dark horse contenders?
I think, look, historical bias is always going to haunt teams. So, Sacramento has that. They have not really done anything of substance in the playoffs for a very long time. And New York, despite a couple of flashes in the pan, they haven't done anything for an even longer period of time. I think I think the last 2 years are very telling as well. They had that kind of all NBA season from Julius Randle. They get to the playoffs. They've got home court. They blow it against the against the Hawks. And knowing what happened, right? Knowing what happened to the 76ers and that implosion, it's not unfathomable to switch storylines there and say the Knicks made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Because the path figuratively was beating the Hawks, which, you know, had the potential to do, and then going up against 76ers who were ready to implode. So that fell through. And then the following season, they're completely out of contention, right? And their big acquisition is Jalen Brunson. And I think Jalen Brunson is an interesting character in which very impactful, very good, but probably we want to see him prove it in a different capacity than how he proved it last season, right? So really his big games came when Luka was out and they played the Jazz, who were also imploding. So I think that there's an element of trust that doesn't come with that. We, I think, how would I put it? I think we're very confident in the top three teams in the East that everybody else really isn't getting a serious look in. Obviously, Miami got a mention, and I think Miami gets a mention because they came within a shot of beating the Celtics as well. Um, but I'm in agreement with you. I think the hesitation to put them on the list is maybe a little unjust. They are surging at the right time. Julius Randle's had a lot of big moments in the last couple of days, and they're trending upwards, and they're trending upwards at the right time. So, you know, I feel like they're the team that could make a second round sort of upset, so to speak. I feel like they've got a much better chance of getting themselves to the conference finals than Toronto does, for example. Not that you said that they'll go into the conference finals, but
I think, look, just a quick correction here. The Brooklyn Nets are also not listed as contenders, but that's understandably so. They've just traded away 2 Hall of Famers and received a whole bunch of, sort of role players or talented role players, and they're not expected to do anything serious this year. And I don't think anyone's saying that. Okay, and the other team, obviously, that was outside of the top six was the Warriors in the West that are still listed as contenders. Steph Curry comes back, and they're looking to go back to back. You can't really just write them off. I think that's a given. I think as well. But with the Knicks here, I think though, having a look at the standings here, the Nets are just above them, half a game above them. You feel that they're going to probably catch them at some point and grab that fifth spot there. Then the Cavs are basically 2.5 games ahead of them too. And if they can grab that fourth spot and have that home court advantage, they're basically going to have the Madison Square Garden home court finals, sorry, playoffs again, sort of vibe. And I think they, I don't know, I think it felt like a big disrespect, all right, for the Knicks to be left off the dark horse list at the very least by ESPN here. And, I think maybe they can use that as a bit of a chip that, they can, like you said, maybe get a first round upset. And with home court advantage potentially within reach to here, I don't know, maybe go a little bit further, just like the Hawks got to the conference finals a few years ago, and that was a little bit of a shock. All right, it could be a similar year here for Knicks fans.
well, I actually think the Knicks don't want home court. So if I had to project a path for them to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, I would say where they're currently sitting is probably their best bet, in which they would go through Philadelphia and then they would potentially go through the Bucks. And the only reason why both those teams get mentioned is Philadelphia has those Harden and Joel concerns in the playoffs, not because of performance, but just because, 4 games to win is not a lot. And if you have a stinker, if you get injured, it's terrible timing and it undoes you. And then, as you alluded to before with the Bucks, if the Bucks do have concerns around Giannis, that whole team falls apart. That is really a team that hinges on him because Middleton has not looked the same since returning after an extended absence. And despite the fact that Drew Holiday plays well, Drew Holiday is not carrying you to a playoff series win. So yeah, look, the Knicks figuratively could. I think for an article left out, maybe it generates buzz from the Knicks sport writers. Maybe it's just it's the Knicks hate, I guess. We're so used to the Knicks being bad, despite the fact that they actually are starting to turn it around. This is, I think, excluding the Carmelo kind of stint, this is definitely the best that they've looked. And obviously the Carmelo stint went up against the big three of the Heat and Indiana when they were quite promising. And ironically, maybe that's the Knicks' fate as well. Maybe they're just in that tier below of Eastern Conference contenders. But I guess the difference is that they have a young enough core that they're probably a move away from becoming serious. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
Yo, this is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist in giving our viewer a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.